Hello, students. Welcome to Easy Alimu Learning Simplified. My name is Mr. Stanley Ombogo. Dear students, welcome back once again to another exciting session. And in this session, under grammar, I'd like us to look at inversions. So, by the end of this session, dear students, you should be able to define, that is, give the definition of inversions. And again, uh, you should be in a position to give the various ways of forming inversions. And lastly, by the end of the session, you should be in a position to correctly and appropriately use inversions in sentences. So to begin, dear students, let us look at the definition of an inversion or inversions. So uh, inversion is the process of changing the position order of words in a sentence while at the same time retaining its meaning. So this simply means that there are words that we interchange within a sentence, but the meaning of the word or the expression remains the same. So certain verbs and adverbial phrases can, be placed first in a sentence or a clause and are then followed by the inverted form of the verb, that is sometimes for emphasis. So some of the various ways of forming inversions, dear students, include the following. So we have uh, a way of doing inversions, that is in the form of questions. For example, if we are given the sentence, we should give three examples. Then we are instructed to invert or change the position of words in that sentence. Then we will have should we give three examples. So you realize that it now it now becomes a question. It is now a question and not a statement. So in the first sentence, that is sentence A, we should give three examples, and uh, it is a statement. Then the inversion that we have, that is now in the form of question, reads, should we give three examples? So the meaning is retained. So another way of forming inversions, dear student, is that inversions can also occur when we use adverbial phrases at the beginning of a sentence. So talking about the adverbial phrases, I want you to study the example that we have below. A group of attentive students sat inside the classroom. So the adverbial phrase that we have there is inside the classroom. So if we rewrite the sentence beginning with an adverbial, uh, that is beginning with the adverbial phrase, then we will have a sentence that still means the same thing or thought, and it is, inside the classroom sat a group of attentive students. So uh, using adverbial phrases at the beginning, that is at the beginning of a sentence, is also one way of forming inversions in sentences. Then another way is that conditional clauses also allow the subject verb inversion, that is changing the position of the subject and the verb. For example, so again we have a pair of that is a pair of a sentence expressing the same thought, just to illustrate the inversion using conditional clauses. So she would throw us out right now if she were a mean uh, person. So the conditional clause that we have here is if she were a mean person, and that is the if conditional clause. So if we change the subject verb position, then we will have another sentence still expressing the same thought, and it is, If she were a mean person, she would throw us out right now. So the only difference is that if you start with the conditional, the if conditional clause, then in between there is a separation of the two clauses using a comma. So below are some of the words and phrases commonly used in inversions, apart from the examples that we have been able to give in the three ways of forming inversions. So the first commonly used word is hardly ever. So hardly ever is a negative adverb of frequency. That is, it expresses how often, but in a negative sense. So example in sentences, he hardly ever goes to see her. So if we convert that sentence, we will have hardly ever does he goes to see her. So the second sentence is the inverted sentence. So uh, hardly and hardly, scarcely, and barely are almost negative in meaning. So hardly is mainly used with any, ever, at all, or the modal auxiliary verb can. For example, in the sentence we have, I hardly ever use my mother tongue in school. So the inversion of that sentence is that hardly ever do I use mother tongue in school. That is, hardly ever do I use my mother tongue in school. So the other words that can also be used in inversion include never, hardly, that goes with when. So hardly, blah, 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 when. In no circumstances, neither, blah, 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 nor. No sooner, blah, 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 than, not only, blah, 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 but also, not till, we have nowhere, on no account, only by, only then, blah, 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 when. Then we also have scarcely, ever, and there is also scarcely that goes with when. So others are also seldom and so. So those are, other words that can also be used in inversion. So example in sentences, that is, let us try and use some of the example of words that we can use in inversion in sentences to understand them better. So she doesn't in any circumstance accept bribes. So the inversion is, in no circumstances does she accept bribes. The second example, they had hardly alighted from the bus when when the accident occurred, sorry. So the inversion is that hardly had they alighted from the bus when the accident occurred. The next example, he had no sooner taken the water than he began complaining of stomach pains. Then the inversion that we have is that no sooner had he taken the water than he began complaining of stomach pains. The next example, it is written nowhere in the Bible. Then the inversion of that, nowhere is it written in the Bible. Then the next example, this book must not on any account be borrowed. Then the inversion that we have is that on no account must this book be borrowed. Then lastly, he became so furious that he began shouting. Then the inversion of that is that so furious did he become that he began shouting. So yes, students, that marks the end of our session that is under inversions. Thank you for keeping it easy, Lima, and remember to, always check us out. Until next time, bye.